Hello YouTubies, I'm Grant, this is The Garage, this is Granty's Garage, and in this video we are going to be endeavouring to complete the installation of these universally not fitting to any car, cheapest Lamborghini door hinges to the max power Ford Focus. For those new to the channel and a reminder to those returning viewers, we're trying to turn this bog standard Ford Focus into something that at least vaguely resembles a max power, sex spec show car sort of car that would have been popular in the early 2000s. And we're trying to do it for as cheap as possible to make it look something like this. This is the AI drawing concept, if you like, that's loosely going to be followed, but is hopefully something like what the car will end up looking like at the end. So hit that subscribe button if you want to see what we get up to in further videos. In the continued attempt to build the cheapest max power style show car as possible, or the Temu max power Focus, whatever we're calling it, in the last video we attached, after locating where it needs to go, the hinge itself with some absolutely amateur welding, but we show all of our scars here if you like. We worked out where the gas struts need to go, attached it to the door, and achieved it opening and closing. For this side to get finished, there's a couple of things I need to do. I need to address the wiring for the car door. These often need extending, and the issue I have, where I actually thought I might get away with it, is one of the connectors sits right behind the hinge and there's not enough space for it. So we'll address that, and I have a sneaky idea. I might be able to go through where the central door jamb mechanism thing used to be, because it's obviously no longer there anymore. That would be a touch if that means I don't need to extend any wires. If it does, it does. The other thing I need to be able to do is address the wing, where it's going to sit, what I need to cut out to allow the door to open and operate, and hopefully we don't hit any snags there, and then do the other side. As I've been going through this, I've been learning my lessons. I had a whole load of problems with this one. You would have seen in the last video where when the gas struts were on, the alignment went off, it moved the door around too much. It's still not perfect, but it operates and I can get in and out of it, and it does what I need it to do without coming too far wide, which would mean the wing needs to come too wide. So the first thing I'm going to do today is have a look at what we've got to play with the wiring. And hopefully by the end of the video, this one will be on, both sides will be completed, and there will be some mad shots of this car, which roughly we spent about £500 on from stock to get it to this point. A whole load of other videos, how we did the body kit stuff, how we wrapped it for £127. But hopefully this one, we're getting everything tidied up. So fandangled some stuff, and I have got the loom through the old hole. I had to widen that hole. I've widened the hole here where the connectors were to give me work access. What I'm going to do is extend these wires, put the connectors back on coming out here so I can still use them, even though that just prevents me needing to repin loads of stuff, and go in through this hole up here. I have checked all the wires on the first part where there's, I say, only 10. A couple of them are doubled, so I've marked each end with tape so I know I'm connecting the right one to the right one, and I'm going to just cut this and be done. Get over the fear of it. But I can't do that with one hand, so I won't be videoing it. Again, ignore the horrible welds, but having put the wing up against where it's going to need to go, there's a mounting point here, there's one here, and there's the bits at the top and the one at the bottom. I've moved the door a few times and checked this. This one here doesn't ever get covered by any of this. Neither does this one, but I wonder about where the door goes when the wing is on. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a cut in the wing effectively like that, and see how we get away with it. I'm pretty certain he might need extending, because his normal path would be straight across this, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's see if cutting that bit out is enough, or if I might need to mount the wing wide body style. Let's see. So we've made some progress and we've hit a minor roadblock.
The wing is back on, slightly misshapen because it has to sit slightly more proud to allow the width for the door to open. Not a bother, eventually it will all line up a bit better when I tighten everything down and it's kind of found its place. So I'm relatively happy with that. And also where there are a few gaps, they're only evident because there's wrap missing from there because that part of the car wasn't visible to me then. I can stick some more in there. I think we can make a good go of it. Relatively happy. One weird problem I found though is when I operate the door on the width angle, it pops out the side repeater. Now this would also have the electrical connector behind it. So inside the wing is quite a long boy. So I need to modify this or do something else. I found something else online, but I've got to wait for that to come. So you'll see that when we get to it and it arrives, which for you means in a few minutes. For me, it's a few days. So for now, this side I think I've gone as far as I can. The door works, it's wired. I could put like the door card and stuff back in, but I might leave that for now. Why might I leave that for now? No, I might put the door back together and then turn the car around so I can do the other door over the next few days while I wait for this other bit to come. Finish off that side and then come and button this one up. That's the plan. So let me stick like the speaker back in and the door card back on, I suppose, and go from there. So I think at the end of that time lapse, you would have seen me take off the wheel and maybe thought, what is he doing? I had wanted to give a nice shot of just kind of, in almost demonstration of having learned what I need to do from the other side, just going and stripping off everything to get to the point of like mounting up these hinges. But I discovered on this side, which was news to me, not been in here yet on this car. This is the washer fluid tank that sits somewhere around there, up tucked in the arch. Quite a clever design, frankly, for packaging. It's a bit of a crude looking thing, but that's going to need relocating. So this simply won't do anymore. I'll have to replace it for an aftermarket one and deal with that. Yeah, it was ultimately, I opened this part up to then get to the last bolt holding on the wing, discovered this sitting in here, and then thought, oh, right. There's another job. So I think for now though, I can crack on with the other bits and I will stick the wheel back on. Back in the garage after a few nights away from home and from the garage for the sake of not being very well for a couple of days. Didn't quite have the energy. However, today started feeling a lot better. Lunchtime, came out, flattened this enough and had test fitted, held up, offered up the hinge. So I think I'm at the point where I need to start looking at getting that attached, starting to make some plans for things like the water bottle. It's not my intention that in this video I'll spend too long with sort of mimicking the bits we did in the last video to get the driver's door to where that is. I want to do and include the tidying up bits. What I'm going to do now though is remove the hinge from the top of the door. I'm going to offer up the piece again, but the lesson I learned from the last side is I'm going to offer it up and then move it this way a bit. I'll put a spacer in, something like that. Probably put the holes in the door again so it will hold the hinge up while I weld it in order to allow myself extra adjustment that was only available on the driver's door by bashing the side of it in. So I'm going to crack on with that. Hopefully there's, you know, it's going to be a lot of this and in and out of the car doing hinges, bolts for the hinge and things like that. It's very hard to film in there, it's very dark, but I'm going through the speaker hole. So in the next bit of what you see on video, hopefully, maybe I'll be welding it on, something like that. I've got a couple of hours of fandangling in front of me, and then we'll see where we are.
back at it, new day. You would have seen yesterday, well, you wouldn't know it was yesterday, but we got the hinge welded on. We put the gas struts on. This time I went for one piece supporting it. The idea being that might hopefully flex and bend less. Seems to be doing a decent job. Have the same problem with what we had on the other side. If you watched the last video, where when I go to close it, and this is what we had, you learn from your previous. I don't know if you'll see in there that the catch is just impacting, so the door is being pushed towards the back of the car. So it won't quite close. If I do get it to close, it's going to overlap this door like the other side was doing. But you live and you learn, if you're smart enough. And this time, when I attached this and welded this on, I put in this piece of metal here, which, as it currently stands, if I remove, means I gain, it's only a few mil this way, but that will be enough to hopefully get the door shut, because that was all I was ever out, roughly, on that side. So I'm hoping by, well, I'll have to take the gas struts off, put the hinge back on to actually hold the door, take this hinge off, at least these two screws have to come out to remove that, but I'm hoping the gap that has forced to be there will be enough that the door will sit this way even with the gas struts on. The reason this might not work is the gas struts may then push it still further that way, and we'll encounter that if it does that. And I probably want to tighten up that bolt because, well, not sure he's doing much like that, but that's fine. These are the two that were going through the metal. So this is not worth videoing because ultimately it's going to be me probably sellotaping a spanner or duct taping a spanner to that end, jumping in there, putting another one on, backing off the bolt that's on the inside of the door, and I'm doing this all through the speaker hole. I've actually realised I did most of this door without looking at it. I'm doing it by feel because I know what I'm expecting from the other side. It's just a bloke with his arm in a door for a while and getting in and out of the car from the back door and climbing round. So it's not particularly elegant or glamorous, but it's a necessary evil. Got to go and do all that again, and then I'll have to do the opposite to do it back up. Hopefully, I find that affords us enough space, the door closing better, and save me what was 2 or 3 evenings worth of dicking about with that side, ultimately. Join me back in a second after I've done what's probably going to be a couple hours of work. Been in and out with the bolts, doing that piece, getting that piece of metal out. It has afforded us just enough room to get the door shut with the struts on, that's happened a lot quicker than it did the other side. The struts still do want to push it this way, so it's not ideal. You definitely would not want to live with this on a daily with these universal hinges, but the door is shut enough. I've been given an idea for dealing with the slight gap where the front of it is also, both doors, if you imagine, are bowing out because of the hinge. I don't know if I can get any adjustability that can deal with that. So that might just be a bigger rubber seal, which might be later in the video if I can source something soon enough. So the job's really still to do. To button up the driver's side, I needed to do something about the indicator lights popping out because they were being pushed by the struts. I have something. We're going to go and have a look at that in a second. The passenger side, whilst there's going to be the same issue, I also need to address the washer fluid tank, and we've got very limited space in the bay, so I'm gonna order a couple of options and work that out from there. Okay, maybe I got a little excited in what you would have seen as probably the last scene of the video. I completely forgot. I need to extend all the wires on the door. So I spent yesterday evening doing that. The good news was
The driver's side, which has more controls, which had 25 wires that I had to extend, so 2 connections, one each end, and then move the connectors of the actual 2 pieces into the door frame rather than on the side because of where they sit. The good news is on the passenger side there was only 19. So yesterday I spent nearly 3 hours doing all of those, getting that going. I didn't even bother testing it when I was done because it was quite late. I just left it, called it a night. Just tested them, window works great, and I've now wrapped all the looms and tidied everything away. Wrapped all the looms like I'm some sort of professional. So now that that's done, what I'm going to go and do, because this is always a nice part of a project, is I'm going to start putting bits back on. Door cards, switches, the trims to access me getting into where the wires go to come in the door and stuff. Get that part buttoned up. Then I'll address the wing and show you, I think, something is quite exciting. We bought a little piece, didn't cost much, we're going to modify it.
Now this is probably slightly less glamorous than the other bit I want to work on. In order to get the hinges to work, I've had to get some other bits that at first I didn't think were going to need to be thought about. They were the washer tank for the windscreen fluid that needed to be relocated because, as I discovered, it lived in the wing, and the side lights, the repeating indicator lights that go in the wing, because when I put the wing back on the driver's side, opening and closing the door where the gas struts were, kept pushing it out. I'll come to the lights shortly. I'm going to address this problem first because this has turned up, and then I can stop ever thinking about it again. I have a very, very small replacement aftermarket, very cheap. This was about £8. Came with a bag of gubbins, and I need to work out where this can go. As you can see, we're not blessed for space in here. It's not necessarily because everything's big, it's just not packaged brilliantly in terms of trying to put other stuff in here. Hence why the other washer fluid tank is probably, you know, cost millions of pounds to design a version of it to go in the wing. So I've been playing around with where to put this. I could potentially put it down here and move the horns, because the horns sit in there, but that's a bit more work than me doing this. And it's a little tool here. If I cut the battery case box, I might be able to get enough. I only need a little bit for it to go down. Now, I do have a top cover for this battery, which maybe I'll modify as well if it goes back on. And I'm okay with cutting this bit for the sake of an experiment to get this to work for now, which should mean minimal amount of like extending hoses and things like that. Got to work out exactly why there are 2 lines coming off this pump rather than 1, and what I'm going to do about that, because only one seems to run up into here. So is that going to the back, do we think? That probably makes sense. Maybe I've worked that out. So I'm going to give that a cut, put that guy in there and see if I can get that to work. It may even then in that fashion kind of hold itself and not need much more support. I'll stick a bracket onto like this brace here and like effectively extend that. So I'm going to have a play around with that and then see if it works. Okay, here we are with the bonnet shut. Plenty of clearance. I think certainly for now, I'm quite happy to get away with that. So, let's wire it up and I suppose plumb it up. So in my head, there's 3 things to address with this. We have the previous pump here. It has a 2-wire connector that gives it power and probably ground. We have 2 tubes. I suspect one of these is going to the back, one of them is going up here. One of them runs under this support and up, and the other one seems to run off there somewhere. So I'm going to try and work out feeding them back in, and if possible, bring them back down through this tunnel, out here, connect down there. That would be ideal, but let's see what happens. The power, that's the easier part because I can just whack new wires on. They don't need to be watertight. Well, protected, but not watertight. So I'm going to muck around with that. It's not going to be very glamorous. You're not going to see much, so I'll probably not video it and show you where I get. And hopefully it's still today. Water bottle now in. I've run the wire back down through here from the old connector, connected it to this, tested that I had it the right way around before I made it permanent. Sitting nice and secure. That should be good for now. We'll adapt the cover when it comes to it and we're dressing up in here. We may also move it later. No bother. Let's get on to the next bit. This bit's more exciting, I think. Now, this is the issue that we're having, why we need to do something. Here's the indicator, which I gather is the same part used on a Murcielago, which is cool. They're quite tall at the back, so you don't see very much of it, but it sticks quite far into the wing, which under normal circumstances is fine. And then the bulb connector sticks about that much more afterwards. So, I found out, you would have seen in the last video, as I opened the driver's side with this in, the gas pistons just keep pushing these out. Now, this used a traditional bulb, so the length of the bulb is sort of taken up in the housing. So what have we got to do for that? I've bought these. On the back, they're not very different. They're not much shallower, but these are LED. I don't know if this will show you, but the actual circuitry for these runs pretty low. This housing is providing nothing more than just this little clip here for it to be able to clip in and stay in place. So the original plan, because trying to check the backs of these online was not easy, these were about 10 quid, 11 quid, was to just cut this all off, mount that down the side and be done with it. What I think I'm actually going to do though is quite carefully trim off kind of as much of this excess that I don't need, with a view that once in the wing, I'll probably glue, seal them, whatever, from the back, and they'll just be semi-permanent in that respect. And then mount the wire coming down the side. What I will do is extend the wire on the car, and the idea will be that I run the wire behind the car further into the wing and back again, just so that the wire, because I won't be able to see what's going on, the wire is not going to be around near where the struts are, and maybe just again just secure it gently even in place down the wing on the inside and make that. So I'm going to go ahead, we're starting to trim this guy down and see how we get on with that. Small update, because I don't want to spend ages on this in the video. I want to show you guys the exciting stuff, but I do want to share the modifications that you've had to make, or I've had to make, in order to use these hinges. So you can see the glue is, oh, it's dry now. I cut the back of the lights off. As you can see, check that they still work like that. That was the first thing. I have left this loose with enough room. I can turn it around if I don't put it in the right way round when we reinstall it back on the car. And then I've put space connectors on the end of these wires, and I've extended the wires coming from the car. The only thing that may not work for this, maybe this. And it may just be that actually I need to do this again, which is why I've not got, partly why I've not done the other side yet. That may still be too big and in the way, in which case I will cut these, extend them down here, put it down here somewhere instead. But hopefully won't need to do that. Hopefully that's enough clearance, it won't be affected, and be quite happy letting the doors open, but we shall see. So the next thing really for me to do is test fit this up, check that it works, check it doesn't get in the way, and then I think I can put this side of the car back together. Finally.
Pardon me if that was quite a long group of time lapses. It was just me running through what we've kind of already explained, getting the wing ready to accept the new indicator, and also extend the wires down to this side, fit the wing, test it, tidy it up, tighten everything, put the kit back on. Had to stop halfway through because I did realise there was dog mess on the wheel my head was very close to, hence the sudden puddles of water appearing in the video, which is, I'm sure, how it's gonna look. But there we have it. These are working, the wings are on, the doors are functioning, and we have Lambo doors. 130 quid plus the 10 or so for these lights. I'll put the exact prices up at some point on the board, and the washer fluid tank that we had to relocate. So that will be it for this part of the journey. The doors are on, the car's ready in that respect, and it's back together and it's working. I did notice these flash front back to front, and I wonder if they're supposed to be the other way round. However, the bit that marked whether they were right and left was the bit that I cut off. So comment below if you think I should swap them, because that would just be unpick the glue and re-glue them. I may use something more permanent in the future if I find the glue doesn't hold, but you would have seen I put quite a lot on. Should be golden for what we need it to do. Just hold those wires out the way. And in the future, the next couple of things we're going to be looking at, I'm on a desperate hunt for some wheels that we can do something with that aren't going to bust the bank. The PCD for this car, I would say, is not particularly favourable, so if you've got any suggestions for the 4x108, even had a look for adapters to put them to others, doesn't seem to be very much, if anything. The thing I'm going to do in the meantime, I don't think it actually made a video yet, but you would have seen I wrapped the inside of a lot of the doors and the door frames. I will be going back in here to wrap the grey piece that is behind the wing, just so that when it is open you can see that it is still purple, and do the rest of it. Got hold of some more wrap that I think will be a good enough match you wouldn't notice. So couple of other bits that will be coming on this car very, very soon. So if you've enjoyed that and you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing to the channel to follow this car. We're now at about 500 spent on the car, and 500 to buy it. So far we've got a sub £1,000 almost max power car. A couple more bits I will be doing. A bit of the interior needs some more stuff, the wheels as I say, and then a few other bits we're not going to mention yet. If you enjoyed that, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below as well. That always helps the videos pick up extra engagement and get it in front of more people who might enjoy this. I'll see you in the next one.